Hello, my lovely people. We're looking at a hell of a V-shaped recovery. After all the crazy stuff yesterday, we'll break all that down. We'll see what the ETFs are up to. We'll look at some new price targets. We'll look at a lot of TAN charts that actually have a lot of bullish signals. And Bitcoin just shot up $2,500 in 4 hours. Woohoo! Not bad. We'll take it. We are almost 58K once again, which isn't bad. And we're actually higher than we were yesterday. So that's not too bad. And there was a little bit of macro stuff. We'll talk about that too. We'll talk about how $2,500 Bitcoin were absorbed by two groups in a couple of days, which is interesting. That's 5,000. That's like 10 days of issuance. Talk a bit about CleanSpark as well, how 50 basis points could be off the table, and how we get to $100,000 by year end. The dream is not dead, apparently. And of course, not financial advice. Thank you to the mods in the chat, KH, Sean Donnelly, T&D Tesla. And from Patreon, this is from David Herbert. Hey, I'll be on with Herbert tomorrow. Another Herbert, that is. Thank you for all you do. Patreon has changed my life for the better. That is awesome. Thank you for saying that. And we are only just getting started. And I'm just a mere cog in the machine. Lots of other people as well sharing great ideas that make us all stronger. So thank you. And Fear and Greed is back up, creeping up to 37, nearly getting out of the fear level, getting back to greed, which is very good. Let's break down some of the Bitcoin news real quick. First of all, this is kind of the big top story, the hopium hit of the day. This is from Tom Lee. We still believe Bitcoin could reach $100,000 by the end of the year, right after the U.S. election, which is scheduled for November 5th or 6th, I think. And then mid-six figures within 2 years is not a stretch. Now, what is mid-six figures? There's a couple of ways to interpret that, but I'll take it the conservative way of being 150,000. But some people could say mid-six figures is $500,000. I don't know, but we'll see. He has spoken about 250K and 350K as well in the future. And other great news too. Sorry, a little cough. I'm going to drink some tea real quick. By the way, you're looking at somebody that gave up coffee a week ago. And I'm still alive. Miracle. I'm trying to ease up on the caffeine. UK draft a law on Bitcoin and digital assets just in from Cointelegraph. This new law could classify Bitcoin and digital assets as personal property. And this legislation will mean that the sector can maintain its position as a global leader in crypto assets and bring clarity to complex property cases. And also, hopefully, stem the bleed. I've shared a couple of weeks ago, it's about 10,000 millionaires leaving the UK in 2024. 6,500 of them are heading to Dubai. Why? Taxes. And the definition of certain assets is very, very important, so you don't tax people to death. And remember, when these governments go after people with money, and they say, you know, I'm just going to take their money and spend it on stupid stuff, these people leave. They have the money to pay for wings, everybody. So draconian governments, watch out. So this is good news for the UK. Hopefully they can straighten up some definitions and guide the way for the rest of the world that is still confused about Bitcoin and digital assets, including the United States. So let's jump in. This is kind of interesting as well. Mr. 100, I jokingly said the other day, is becoming Mr. 88. But over the last 2 days, you can see some weird transactions. They're still buying every day. 88 Bitcoin, 99 Bitcoin, 102 Bitcoin, 86 Bitcoin, 84 Bitcoin. Now, I don't, and they still have added 2,650 so far in September. I still maintain this is a DCA strategy for somebody. Not sure who it is, but the activity definitely has earmarks, 99% earmarks of somebody buying the dip, and sometimes they sell the dip as well. So watch the space. But what is interesting is either they're having a hard time buying 100 Bitcoin or they're running out of money. I don't know what it is, but either way, it's interesting to watch. So we'll keep seeing exactly what they do. And CleanSpark in Knoxville, Tennessee. Shout out to Johnny Knoxville. Will knock your socks off. Somebody posted today. CleanSpark have entered into definitive agreements to acquire 7, not 1, not 2, not 5, 7 Bitcoin mining facilities and a certain amount of land in the Knoxville, Tennessee area with 85 megawatts of immediate available capacity. And this will add 5 exahash to their capacity. So they'll go from, right now, I think they're 22 plus 5, 27 exahash, making them one of the top players. Again, this is a race to hash. The more hash, the cheapest electricity, cheapest overhead, and the most modern rigs. That's the formula. These guys are, I think, winning that acquisition game as well. I haven't calculated the relative cost of $27.5 million or $324,000 per megawatt. But in terms of big data centers that run HPC, that's cheap. Normally they run 5 to 10 times that amount. Anyway, we'll dig more into that in my next mining update. And what had the markets rattled today, but it didn't matter because Bitcoin literally has just shot to $58,014, and the V-shape, again, over $2,700 in a matter of 4 hours. But what rattled the markets this morning is the CPI numbers came in a little bit hot, and 50 basis points now, many believe, is off the table. Fed swaps reduce odds of a half-point cut in September down to 25 basis points. So people were disappointed. But despite all that, it doesn't matter because 125 to 100 basis points will be cut in the next 12 weeks by December. And that's going to have a big impact on risk assets. It's going to be very good in combination with global liquidity, which we'll get to in a second as well. And we have the dual mandate tracker. Shout out to Sanjay as well for sharing. This is the fine comical balance that the Fed is trying to play. So yellow is unemployment rate, blue is inflation rate, and black is the effective funds rate at 5.3. So, and unemployment is spiking to 4.2%, and inflation is down to 2.6%. They're still looking for that magical 2%. But remember, 60%, 40 to 60% of inflation is driven by the price of oil. And the oil makers control the price, not the United States to a large extent. So will they completely spike the yellow line here to the moon, kill many more jobs in the face of an AI revolution which is coming as well? Are they completely clueless, or will they cut soon and fast? But you'll see very clearly here that historically the yellow is above the black per this chart. So we are living in strange times. And we also know the BLS don't know how to measure job losses or gains. And they just had that 880,000 or 808,000 job revision from a few months ago. Nuts. Anyway, so all of this is just nonsense. That's why when you see the markets rattled, okay, because of macro data and they dip a lot, you buy. All right. Financial advice, you buy, because odds are the market will digest it and rebound really fast within 24 hours. It's happening every single time the last year. Why the markets react to silly numbers like this, I don't know. It's truly comical. Anyhow, CME Futures checking in yesterday. This number was at 34% on the left. That's a 50 basis point cut. Now it's down to 15%. Now there's an 85% chance at 25 basis points. Either way, we're getting a cut. And then there will be more cuts. Maybe their theory is, let's cut slowly so we don't panic the market too much. If we cut 50 basis points, we might signal to everybody we're in real trouble and we're really afraid. So who knows? That's my theory anyway. Let's get into the Bitcoin charts because this is the more interesting part of the show. Let's first of all, yesterday, people say, oh, politics is not related to Bitcoin. Ha! This chart, which has been seen like 45,000 times, I posted live during the debates, and Bitcoin did not like the debate performance yesterday, and it tanked. But of course, it rebounded like everything else. Just like people are worried about a debate performance, markets tank. That's your buy signal because the market will digest it and decide it's a nothing burger and then move on to getting back into the game. Bitcoin Maxi Mike, thank you for coming. So, for those who believe there's no correlation between politics and Bitcoin, yeah, check the chart. Also, speaking of this sexy chart, this is a nice one. Titan of Crypto. This talks about a Bitcoin golden cross. And I know people have all sorts of weird golden crosses. The true golden cross is the 50-day and 200-day. Some people look at the 50-week and 200-week. But this one is the 2-month chart. And we're looking at the 20 SMA versus the 21 EMA on the 2-month Bitcoin chart. Now, the beauty of this is you get to see history repeat over and over and over again. All right, when we get a gold chart, that means the shorter term window covers the longer term window. And here we had a golden cross, like clockwork in 2012, again on the 2-month, in 2016, in 2020, and 2024. We just had it now. And in past cycles, every time a golden cross appeared on the 2-month chart, it led to a massive Bitcoin rally. The question we have, everybody, is will this time be any different? And I think we're getting a rally. The setup is perfect. Yes, we've been through a horrible summer. That's okay. Yes, we went up too high too early with the ETF catalyst. Yes. Yes, the pre-halving all-time high was an anomaly. Yes, but we're still way higher than we expected to be at this stage of the game. Now, let's look at another chart too. From AO, from Aurelian Ohayon. You can see very clearly here, this chart, the top piece is the historical Bitcoin price, and the bottom piece is the global liquidity index. And the red line, I'm not sure exactly what type of moving average that is, so I apologize. But it looks like something like probably like a 200-day moving average. And we can see we are just about to break out. That means global liquidity is about to pop, which we've been talking about quite a lot lately. And that means Bitcoin's going to pop too, because it has done historically. So I decided to interpret this chart a little bit deeper and create my own with the help of the rational root. So I took his chart and added some more lines to it. So this is the global liquidity in blue. Then you have the gold price at the top. That's the Bitcoin price. And then you have the year-over-year delta in black. That's the year-over-year change. Now, you can see so far this year, global liquidity is up 5%. Now, you read that from the axis on the left-hand side. And if you go back in time, of course, the first cycle was an anomaly because we'd already gone through the dot-com crash and a whole bunch of other stuff. And then Bitcoin came in the scene and it was a little bit out of cycle. However, what is interesting, if we look at halving 2, halving 3, and the current halving, we've got a couple of things we can pull out here. Thank you, Rusty Woods. First of all, the increase in liquidity happens after. The big increase happens after the halving. Sometimes it happens before, as it did way back in pre-halving 2. But also, when the global liquidity goes up, that is the year-over-year delta, so does the Bitcoin price. Then we had 2020, huge green spike. We may not get one that big, but I don't know, with current government deficits, possible. Either way, we're getting a spike in global liquidity. How big it'll be, I'm not sure. My target last year was for 100 trillion, and we are at 99 trillion so far. So one more trillion to go to hit the target, and then we probably do another 5 or 10% on top of that. And then Bitcoin will pump, everybody. It's just written in the charts here. How high this little green shoot goes, how quickly it goes, I'm not sure. But it's probably going to kick in the next 2 months to 6 months for sure. And then that will float all boats, as they say. How dramatic it is, I don't know. China is in a lot of problems, which means they're going to have to stoke their economy in a big way, pump a lot of liquidity in. So is Europe. I spoke about that yesterday, looking at nearly $1 trillion in liquidity by the ECB in order for them to spur their economy. And the US, of course, spending like drunken sailors because deficits are out of control. And that's where we are. Now let's look at Bitcoin as a tiny asset. Just to put things in perspective, people think they're too late to the Bitcoin party, so they're going out and buying poop coins instead because they think, well, Bitcoin is too expensive. It's already done. This should give you a little bit of comfort that we are still early on how Bitcoin is still a tiny asset class. 1 trillion market cap versus 17 trillion in gold, 18 trillion in art, 110 trillion in stocks, 120 trillion and growing in fiat. That'll be 130 trillion in no time. Then global debt, 315 trillion. Think of the bond market, etc., and real estate, $330 trillion. Bitcoin is tiny. We are still early. Everybody, don't lose faith. Bitcoin proxies playlist will be here after and at the end of the video. And just Bitcoin only content. For those who like Bitcoin only content, let's talk about the black hole. We had a big turnaround in the last 2 days. Thank goodness, because the previous ones were ugly. But the cadence is always dramatically similar. So if we look at the negative days in a row, we go back to Tuesday, August 27th. Then we had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 8. I get that? 8 negative days in a row. The negative day hits in a row, maximum level since this thing has started over 165 days, somewhere between maximum 8 to 11. And then there's a positive day. We got to 8 this time around. And then we had 2 positive days in a row. And they're pretty big positive days. So we had 28.6 million on Monday and 117 million yesterday. And Fidelity was in big, 63.2 million yesterday and 29 million the day before. Blackrock had a little dump of 9 million, tiny amount. That was their 3rd negative day ever in 168 days. I do expect them to be back buying tomorrow. So you'll see here in this report. Also, Grayscale had a big day, 41 million after 22, 23 million dump. So even Grayscale's back in the game, and so is ARK, 13 million yesterday. What does this look like on the chart? Well, first of all, before we get to more charts, BlackRock now own 2% of all Bitcoin from Bitcoin Magazine. And, but just to clarify as well, people say BlackRock own it. No. BlackRock's customers own it. They probably have a little bit for their personal portfolio, but still, it's big. After being so new, to be able to suck up 2% of the supply in 165 days, stunning. And as Bitcoin Magazine says, are you paying attention? Because there's more, a lot more coming. Also, top 25 hedge funds, 15 of the top 25 hedge funds on the planet now have exposure to Bitcoin. Hedge funds with Bitcoin exposure via Bitcoin ETFs because they believe Bitcoin will outperform. Now, I did plug in a little piece here on Millennium Management. They do have nearly 27,300 Bitcoin, but they also play the carry trade. So they go long spot, short the futures, etc. So I don't know how long they'll be in here, but there's some big players that aren't on the boat yet, like Bridgewater, like AQR, and a few others. They will probably be joining soon. Everybody needs an allocation to Bitcoin. And don't think, as Fred Krueger said, there's people not buying Bitcoin because it's like $68,000. They'd rather buy something worth 30 cents instead. Sometimes cheaper is not better, everybody. Remember that too. Let's look at the charts and how the bounce back looks. You can see here, Fidelity down in blue had 2 big negative days. Very big historically. That was the 2nd and 3rd worst days ever for Fidelity, but they bounced back hard, buying a big truckload over the last couple of days, and even Grayscale is back too. The rest of the other players aren't quite back yet. You can see BlackRock is missing from the party, that big red line, but they'll be back. And when they come back big. Just don't know exactly where they are right now. But I do know their customers are buying. Maybe they got some very cool market making stuff happening behind the scenes. And we are back above trend. Trend is that pink line. That's a power curve. And the pink line is normally at about $30 million. We're back at $170 million day yesterday, right on the line the day before. So things are not looking too bad at all. And we had that big blip over the last, 10, 20 days. Again, markets were nervous. The macro is nervous. The money printer is coming. The rate cuts are coming. And that will drive a lot more money to Bitcoin. Expect to see a lot more time above this pink line over the coming weeks and months. Also, other good news. Remember, 450 Bitcoin are issued a day, and the miners are hodling. They're not selling. So we had over 2,500 Bitcoin absorbed in just 2 days from these ETFs. But granted, they did dump about 10 or 15,000 over the previous 8 days as well. So we're making our way back. That's how this thing works. The red line above is the amount of consumption. We are off the highs, which means the new ETFs I think they went up to about 305,000 Bitcoin. We're off of that high right now, but we'll get back there again real shortly, I reckon, as well. And that is the story for today. I might be back with a quick Tesla update. There's some crazy, crazy cool stuff coming for Tesla. If you're interested, I'll try to get it completed if I can in a couple of hours. Thank you all for joining. Thank you to the mods in the chat and Bitcoin Maxi Mike and everybody for coming. Appreciate you all. Have a good day. Bye.